Greetings, folks. Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles. So I thought it's about time I did another ranking show, and this time around I'm going to be ranking the albums that David Byron was part of in that great British hard rock band Uriah Heep. Progressive rock, you can call them as well. So of course David Byron was there from the beginning, and he lasted for all of 9 studio albums. So that's what I'm going to be ranking. I'm going to be ranking 4 in this episode and then my top 5 in the next one. So it'll be a 2-part thing. And yeah, he was an incredible singer, had an amazing range to his voice. Quite the showman on stage. Only problem was David suffered from a bit of self-confidence. He was never really sure if he was good enough. Although for me, he was absolutely brilliant. Such an incredible voice. You know, he could do the emotive kind of stuff, the slower ballad type songs, and he could rock out with the best of them. I mean, Uriah Heep as a whole have always been blessed with fantastic singers. I mean, if you look at who followed from David Byron was John Lawton, you had John Sloman, Pete Golby, and then of course the most recent being Bernie Shaw, who's also an incredible singer. So that's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to do a ranking of Uriah Heep, the David Byron era. For many, the best era. I enjoy all of Uriah Heep stuff, but I suppose the David Byron era you've got to put in a separate section because that's when they really hit their stride, sort of early to mid 70s. Some of the later stuff that he did with them wasn't that fantastic, and I think there were ructions within the band, and David was hitting the bottle a bit too hard, which would eventually become the reason for his demise, his demons and all the rest of it, as was many rock artists from those days. It's funny, you don't really hear about that anymore. Your guys killing themselves with booze and drugs. It seems to be in the 60s and the 70s thing, maybe the 80s as well. But in any case, let's get stuck in, shall we? So we're going to start off at number 9. As I said, 9 studio albums. And the first one being, number 9 being this one, Uriah Heep's High and Mighty. That Luger with Wings. There's the back cover, and this was still on the Bronze label, 1976, so this will be the final one I think that he sang on. And there's the man himself, David Byron. That's Mick Box. That's John Wetton, of course, played with Asia. He's played with so many people. Wishbone Ash. That's Ken Hensley, and there's the great Lee Kerslake. In fact, all of these gentlemen have now left us, except for Mick Box, still around. This cat wants to go out. It's amazing. As soon as you start a video, there's a cat here, and the cat wants to do things. I'm probably going to jump up here on the table just now. I'm doing it in the stoep or porch this time around, just for something different. So anyway, that's number 9. Right, we go to number 8. Another one that's... let me just mention some of the tracks on here. Let's do this properly, shall we? One Way or Another is okay. Weep in Silence, Misty Eyes, Midnight. You can see I don't linger too much on the songs. There's nothing here that really grabs you. Production's a bit iffy as well. Can't Keep a Good Man Down, Woman of the World, Footprints in the Snow, Can't Stop Dancing, Make a Little Love, and Confession. Excuse me, I just want to let this cat out before we go any further. Yep. Right, I'm back. Folks. Yes, let the cat out. When the weather's getting crappy, we're going to have rain for the next few days. Of course, we're in winter here. But she has to go out. And then she'll probably want to come back in 5 minutes' time. Anyway, so that's number 9, High and Mighty. As I said, I don't really reach for this that often. It doesn't do much for me. Yeah, on the Bronze label. Number 8, Uriah Heep's Wonder World. Quite a cool cover. Supposed to be statues or something. And there's the guys at the back in their finery. And there's Lee Kerslake laughing his head off. Somebody must have said something really funny for Lee to laugh like that. There's Mick Box with his beret on. And there's David Byron with his sort of flower power shirt. Yeah, another one which is okay. 1974 this came out, also still on the bronze label. Produced by Jerry Bron. I think he produced quite a few of the early albums. Wonderworld, the title track. The one big hit that came off this album, which is quite a good rocking track. And you can really hear how great David Byron's vocals are on this track. Suicidal Man. You know, he had such a range. You could hit the high notes and do the whole spiel. The Shadows and the Wind, So Tired is okay. The Easy Road, Something or Nothing, I Won't Mind, We Got We, and Dreams. Yeah, I don't know. It's once again, there's nothing memorable in the tracks. There's no great hooks. It's not the sort of album that lingers in your mind. You know, you want to play it again and again. But nonetheless, there we go. That's my number 8, Wonderworld from Uriah Heep. Yeah, quite an interesting cover. I wonder how long it took for them to do that kind of makeup and stuff. Because, I mean, this is pre-doctoring photographs and Photoshop and all the rest. So you had to do it the long way around. Right, we get to number 7. And this being Return to Fantasy. I always love their covers. I must say they took a bit of time with their covers at least. That one there, and there's the back. Bronze label, of course. Oh, there we go. There's Mr. David Byron, Mick Box, Ken Hensley, Lee Kerslake, and John Wetton. So John Wetton appears on 2 albums. This one, and I'm trying to think, did he appear on Wonderworld then? No, that was Gary Thane. Right, so this came after Wonderworld, obviously. So he appears, John Wetton appears on this album as well as, what was the first one? High and Mighty, yes. I think I might need some more coffee. I'm doing this in the evening, yeah. It's, like I said, it's coming over quick. So what are the tracks on here? Return to Fantasy, the title track. That's a cool track. I really like that one. That became a fairly big hit. Shady Lady, Devil's Daughter, Beautiful Dream. You could hear, even in these albums from the sort of mid-70s, they were trying to be a little bit more commercial. They were getting away from the sort of sword and sorcery and demons kind of stuff. I think they were trying to attract the American market. You know, it's very difficult to break into a new market. These guys have done okay in the UK, obviously, and in Europe, Germany especially. It's funny how many great British bands did well in Germany. If you think the Beatles started out doing well in Germany, who else? Oh, there's so many. The Kinks, etc., etc. And yeah, these guys as well. Devil's Daughter, Beautiful Dream, Prima Donna, Your Turn to Remember, Showdown, Why Did You, and A Year or a Day. Ken Hensley on Ken Hensley keyboards, obviously mostly the fantastic Hammond sound of Uriah Heep. It's one of their trademarks, the B3. Mick Box on guitar with a lot of wah-wah, an incredible guitarist, but underrated for me. David Byron, of course, on vocals. Who else? Lee Kerslake, fantastic drummer. Played on those first 2 Aussie albums as well. And then John Wetton, like I mentioned, bass and vocals. He had a great voice too. So he was a great backup singer in this lineup. And of course, who else did John Wetton play for? Asia, I think I mentioned. Played in the band UK, Wishbone Ash. I'm sure there's a whole bunch that I've missed. Yeah, it's not going to come to me now. But needless to say, he was like a session muser, really. Sort of go-to bassist if you were looking for somebody to fill the bass slot in your band. John Wetton was your man. So yeah, there we go. Return to Fantasy. That is my 9-8. Number 7. Number 6. We go all the way back to their second album, which actually had 2 different covers. I think the first and the second had an American cover, which this one isn't, and then this cover, sort of UK and the rest of the world. It's called Salisbury, and that's the one most people know. American one's a really strange looking thing. I think either the first or the second had like a weird creature on it. Didn't do much for me. But this is okay. I mean, quite what the tank has got to do with anything, I have no idea. But anyway, it's the back, and then it opens up like that, and there's the tank coming over the top. I think it's like a First World War tank supposed to be. And there's just the lineup and what have you. So who do we have in the band here? David Byron on lead vocals, of course, Ken Hensley, organ, piano, slide and acoustic guitars, harpsichord, vibes and vocals. And besides which, Ken Hensley was pretty much the main songwriter. Him and Mick Box, Lee Kerslake to a lesser degree. And yeah, fantastic songwriter, great singer too. Went on to play with, God, what was that band? Blackfoot of all bands. You know, southern rock band. He also had a fantastic solo career. But of course, most people know him from Uriah Heep. Mick Box, lead guitar, acoustic guitar. Paul Newton on bass guitar and vocals. I think he was on this one. And the third, or maybe this first. The bass guitar slot would get changed a lot in Uriah Heep. And then Keith Baker on drums, another slot that would get changed. This is quite a lengthy side too. Well, let's go from the beginning, shall we? Bird of Prey, which is a full-on rock. I really dig that track. And for me, it's the sort of shining light of this album, if you like. And that's a 4-minute long track. Quite a cool rocker, and that became quite a big hit for them. Then you get The Park, Time to Live, and Lady in Black, which was the massive commercial hit from this particular album. And I remember here in South Africa, Lady in Black, we had a thing called the Springbok Radio, which was the local radio station, the top 30 or top 20 or whatever it was, introduced by a guy by the name of David Gresham. And I remember that I was still at school, of course, and Lady in Black was on the charts for weeks and weeks and weeks here in South Africa, but it did pretty well all over the world. Then you get to side 2 with High Priestess, which is quite a cool track. Then you get this long track, which has got almost sort of progressive rock feel to it, concept kind of thing, called Salisbury. That's the title track, and that goes on for 16 minutes and 22 seconds. Yeah, you could get away with it back in those days, you know, lengthy tracks, and people's attention spans were a little longer than they are today. You know, today it's a 5-second right, move on to something else. Sadly, recorded at Lansdowne Studios in London, October, November 1970. So this being their second album, Salisbury. Yeah, right at the beginning of Uriah Heep. They hadn't yet quite hit their stride, I don't think. That would come with a few other albums. So there we go, my ranking of Uriah Heep with David Byron, and that's the first 4 of the 9. I'll do the next 5, the top 5 in the next one. And hope to catch you there. Please guys, tune in. And if you haven't watched the channel before, subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And yeah, take it easy, look after yourselves. And please, down below, any comments, more than welcome. Love to hear from you guys. Got my braai at the back there. I'm not doing much braaiing at the moment, or barbecuing if you like. I think I must get some of that slow, long burning wood for the winter nights and just make a fire. And I do close up the stoep area here because the northwester comes in this side, the rain, and you know, it gets pretty chilly come June, July. So I've got enough wood there to keep me warm. Take it easy guys, and I'll catch you on the next part 2 of Uriah Heep. Cheers.